we have the markets up quite nicely today, up by 1.4%, and that's despite a very poor morning on Asian markets and also that flat finish in the US last night. So what's boosting sentiment on our side?
Yeah, I think we've all pleasantly surprised, I suppose. We expected the market to open low, based as exactly what you said on yesterday's US and today's Asia performances. So yeah, so pleasantly up, and I think it's mainly the big counters, MTN, Bulletin, Anglos, really contributing quite well there. Yesterday we had the MTN BE deal announcement, so I think we didn't have much time yesterday to react to things like data and MTN deals, which are good for corporate South Africa. So I think, we're just carrying that on today. Sentiment is positive, and, that's why we're seeing such strong performance.
Well, some of the big negatives in the US market yesterday, we had that Philly Fed index out, shows that manufacturing activity is starting to slow down in the US, but particularly in those regions. That disappointed the markets. We also had some numbers out. Google after the bell, disappointing, and JP Morgan also, although they did beat expectations, it shows that investment banking is still not growing in line with the rest of its banking operations. So still some negative news coming out.
Yes, negative news in the United States, which is a bit worrying. We still kicked off earnings seasons in the United States on Monday. Alcoa did very well there. And I think what we can take from what we've seen of late is that, it is a mixed bag. As much as JP Morgan did have good earnings results there, that was mainly based on the impairments and the loan provisions that were made there. But, there was a cautious outlook from JP Morgan, and we saw Google's results were definitely not anywhere near expectations, down 3%. So it's a very mixed bag at the moment, but we're still at the beginning of earnings seasons in the United States. So, we still have a while to go to see exactly what the picture is there.
Of course, we did get some clarity from Goldman Sachs in terms of how much is going to have to pay the Securities and Exchange Commission, $550 million. And that seems to have given the market a bit of a boost towards the close yesterday.
Yes, yeah, that and BP yesterday I think helped the United States quite a lot. But, I think the market is expecting a lot more than $550 million US. And, I think that's why it was so well received that it was 550. It's still a big number, but a lot less than expectations. So, yes, at least some clarity happening there. And also the United States reform bill in terms of banks is what's, on the cards at the moment. That has been clarified.
Of course, passed by Congress and now just awaits President Barack Obama's signature.
Yes, yeah.
And Ntombenhle, just looking ahead, there's still some issues obviously hanging over the market. We have those stress tests on the European banks, results due out next Friday. We had the Federal Reserve this week warning about growth. So although there is some growth still in the US economy, it's not quite as strong as it was a couple of months ago, and it looks like it's going to be a long, hard slog.
Yeah, I think the Fed just really reminded people this week when they downgraded growth expectations in the United States that, it's going to be a long, hard work. For as long as the labor market remains very standards, for as long as, jobs are not created in the United States, it's going to be a long, long road ahead. And also, with the clarity now as to the bank reform bill happening in the United States, I think, going forward, what we'll end up looking at is the Basel Accord and what changes are going to be happening there for deposit takers. So I think it's going to be, a very interesting time. Also, still a lot of focus on the banks going forward. But hopefully those stress tests will add some positive lights out of the European economy. We also saw that the bonds, the debt that was issued in Portugal, Spain, and Greece was well received, even though Portugal did get a downgrade this week. But I think it is positive going forward. But still a very mixed bag.
Well, we have been trading around key resistance levels on global markets this week. What do you think it's going to take to break above those resistance levels?
Sure, I think, Stephen, it's, the focus really is now on economic data in the United States, and it will take a lot. We've been very range bound. If you look at back in October 2009, where, if you'd invested then, you would certainly have grey hairs by now, but your investment would not have done much. If you look at the top 40 back in October 2009, but I think going forward, we expect more stimulus measures, perhaps out of the United States as far as jobs are concerned. And I think that's the only reason that we will see any kind of change or any kind of change to the upside as far as the top 40 is concerned. And also, locally, we've got the MPC coming out next week. I think consensus is that, rates are going to remain unchanged, but, our economy is also not doing that well. The data that has been coming out, we've been seeing really, it's because last year we were operating at such a low base that, it seems that much better this year. But I think it's still a very long road also for us in South Africa, and for us to breach those key resistance levels that we're seeing at the moment.
Well, just looking ahead to this evening, we have consumer inflation numbers coming out of the United States. We also have the University of Michigan Consumer Confidence Index. How important is that in the greater scheme of things?
Yeah, I think it's very important. The confidence numbers, are, more about labor than they are about, what corporate earnings that, where the focus has been this week. But, it will be what the consumers believe it is the state of the economy, what they believe is going to happen in their lives. And CPI is important because the deflation argument has been coming up of late. And, I think the fear is that, the US may move to more towards deflation. I mean, we saw the PPI numbers come out yesterday. They're a lot softer than expected, and I think that definitely will be a focus this afternoon, and that I think will be what caps maybe some of the JSE's moves upwards today.
Perhaps just touching on Dimension Data, we had that share up 22% yesterday, going above 14 Rand. Hasn't been above 14 Rand for quite some time. Edging up higher again today, up by another 0.7% as we head into the afternoon. Now actually trading above the offer price, and of course we have seen sterling strengthening against the Rand. Do you think that the market's starting to factor in perhaps a counter offer for Dimension Data?
I think it's still early days, but I think, some people are of the opinion that there may be some kind of hostility there, or maybe some kind of counter offer happening. But 3.2 billion is quite a rich offer, and I think, what's important about it is that NTT does have the backing of the major shareholders of Data, that is Venfin and Alan Gray, and they also have the support of management, and what makes this a sweet deal for shareholders is that, Data will remain virtually the same, or relatively the same. They will have the same management, because this deal does have the backing of management, and they've turned that company around quite a bit over the past few years. So I think we will see, maybe there'll be some opportunistic people, but with Venfin and Alan Gray holding just above 50% of the shareholding of that company, I doubt anything will come over any counter bids to NTT's offer.